Have you ever started to laugh, then suddenly stopped, as if you just caught yourself feeling that emotion? A moment that seemed completely natural is suddenly analyzed, dissected, questioned, until it's no longer joy, but an endless spiral of thoughts. That's not strange. It's how a highly sensitive mind works, always feeling more deeply, but also thinking far beyond what's necessary. In this video, we'll explore the inner world of highly sensitive people, where emotions are not only felt, but analyzed to the very core. If you've ever seen yourself in moments like these, stay until the end, because this might be the first time you truly understand yourself. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on deep content like this. When you live in a state of hyper awareness, the most exhausting part isn't that you overthink, but that you can't not think. It's not like you choose to analyze a situation. It's like your brain automatically switches into analysis mode, even when all you want is peace. And the irony is, the more you understand that, the harder it becomes to escape it. You realize you're analyzing, and then you start analyzing the fact that you're analyzing. A closed loop, subtle, and almost without a stopping point. There's a very specific moment that you may have experienced but never named. It's when everything around you seems fine. No conflict, no obvious problem, yet you still feel that something is off. Not because there is concrete evidence, but because you sense that something doesn't align. A glance that lingers a bit longer than usual, a small pause in a sentence, a very slight shift in tone. Others might overlook it, but you don't. You store it, you connect it, you begin to build a bigger picture from scattered details. And then the problem isn't that you notice it, it's that you can't not interpret it. Your brain doesn't just register things, it wants to understand, to conclude, to find meaning behind everything. But the inner world of human beings is not an equation that can be solved with pure logic. It is vague, shifting, and sometimes contradictory. This creates a large gap between what you feel is true and what is actually happening. That's why one of the greatest burdens of highly sensitive people is that they have to live with uncertainty, yet tend not to accept that uncertainty. You want to know exactly what the other person is thinking. You want to clearly understand why they act the way they do. You want everything to have a reason, to have structure. Uh, but the more you try to force the world into a framework that makes sense, the more you realize it doesn't work that way. This also directly affects how you perceive yourself. You don't just observe others, you observe yourself with the same level of scrutiny. You notice every small shift in your emotions, every reaction, every fleeting thought. And instead of simply experiencing them, you begin to question, why do I feel this way? What does this say about me? Am I reacting correctly? Gradually, you're no longer just living, you're watching yourself live. A very particular kind of fatigue emerges from this. It's not physical exhaustion, but cognitive exhaustion. Your brain rarely gets to fully rest. Even when you're relaxing, some part of you is still active, still observing, still evaluating. And over time, this can make you feel like you're always on, always in a state of readiness to analyze, even when it's not necessary. But what makes this experience more complex is that it's not entirely negative. This variability allows you to see things others miss. You can understand subtle emotional nuances in others. You can sense what hasn't been said. You can connect small details into a bigger picture that many people would never notice. The problem is when this ability isn't regulated, it can shift from a gift into a burden because instead of helping you connect with the world, it separates you from it. You are no longer fully in the moment. You stand outside it, observing it, analyzing it, and in a very quiet way that diminishes the vividness of the experience. An important shift that many people don't realize is from awareness to understanding. Awareness gives you data, what you hear, feel, but understanding requires you to process that data in a flexible, open way, and sometimes to accept that you might be wrong. This is where many highly sensitive people struggle, not because they lack information, but because they move too quickly toward conclusions. And when you begin to treat what you perceive as absolute truth, you unintentionally create a version of the world that may not be entirely accurate. You may misinterpret others' intentions. You may turn a neutral action into a negative signal. And this doesn't just affect how you see others, it also affects how you respond to them. Interestingly, those who use this ability well are not the ones who analyze the most, but the ones who know when to stop. They still notice those details, but they don't rush to assign meaning to them. They hold them as hypotheses, not conclusions. They allow reality time to reveal itself instead of trying to force clarity immediately. This requires a deep level of trust, not in others, but in yourself. Trust that you don't need to understand everything right away to be okay. Trust that some questions may not have answers right now, and that doesn't mean something is wrong. And perhaps one of the most important realizations you can have is you don't need to turn off your sensitivity to live more lightly. You just need to learn not to let it control your entire experience. There is a big difference between noticing a thought and completely believing it. When you begin to create that small distance between observation and conclusion, you'll realize that you can still keep your depth, your sensitivity, without paying the price of constant exhaustion. You can still understand others without carrying the burden of always needing to be right. And maybe for the first time in a long while, you won't just observe life, you will truly experience it.